President Bola Tinubu says perpetrators of the Plateau State attack must be smoked out of their hiding place. Now, the killing of over 100 locals by suspected herd militiamen on Christmas Eve in some communities in Plateau State has continued to attract attention both within and outside the country. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima and some top government officials arrived in Jos, the Plateau State capital, to see for themselves as well as condole with the government and people of the state. Funam Joshua has details.
His first port of call is this temporary emergency internally displaced camp here in Bokkos local government area of Plateau State to see for himself the situation the displaced people are into.
Some of the victims of the Christmas Eve deadly attacks are now internally displaced and still grieving their loss. The Vice President took his time to go around the camp and sympathize with the victims. The chairman of Bokkos Council area said a total of 148 people, including women and children, lost their lives following the midnight attacks in the area. And when it was time for the Vice President to talk, he first commiserated with the victims and the state over the killings. He assured the state that the perpetrators of the dastardly act will be arrested and brought to justice.
His Excellency President Bola Tinubu is deeply shaken by this tragedy. When one community bleeds, the entire nation feels the pain. The pain we feel now transcends ethnicity or religion, geography or politics. We will harness all our resources to bring those responsible to justice. We will not rest until we are able to prevent the recurrence of these heinous acts.
Yesterday when I was speaking, I said that under the last federal government, there was lack of political will to deal with this issue. I never accused the present government of lack of political will. And this today, the visit of Mr. Vice President, is a demonstration of the political will of the present government to deal with the situation.
A stakeholders' town hall meeting was next, and the Vice President took time to talk with the leaders of various communities present about the need to give peace a chance to enhance the progress of the state.
But most importantly, this government is determined to dispense justice. This government is determined to enforce peace, not only for the government, but uphold the name and rest of this nation.
To take his leave, and then we will...
Key among the things raised by the Vice President at the stakeholders meeting is for residents to do whatever it takes to promote peaceful coexistence among themselves, which without the state will not progress. Funam Joshua, TVC News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has also condemned the heinous and brutal attacks in Bokkos and Barkin-Ladi and Mangu local government areas. In a statement by his special advisor to the President of Media Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, President Tinubu directed security agencies to search every nook and cranny of the zone and apprehend the culprits. Well, joining us in the studio to discuss more on this development is security consultant Darlington Umo. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning once again. And as usual, not a happy one.
Absolutely.
At a time of celebration.
Right. Well, joining us via Zoom from Jos, a security expert, conflict mediator, and peace advocate, Melvin Eje. Melvin, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me begin with you, Melvin. This matter keeps reoccurring in certain areas of Jos, Plateau State, and one of it is Mangu. There are concerns with regards to security presence, what is being done. We've seen divergent reactions to this. Even Amnesty International has spoken to this matter, calling it a security lapse. But you are on the ground. You know what's happening with regards to security presence in that region. Perhaps you begin by telling us what the security situation there was like before the attack that we saw recently.
Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, everyone. Let me once again condole with the government and people of Plateau State. Let me condole with the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm very sad this morning because it's actually a moment of grief for us at the time Nigeria is celebrating Christmas. Very, very sad. If you were there yesterday at Bokkos, it was a very serious emotional moment. I wept, and a lot of persons wept for the plight of the people in Bokkos. The attack is so mindless, it's barbaric, it's uncalled for, and was unprovoked at this point in time. My point is that between now and December 24th, there was no reason for that attack. There was no provocation whatsoever. There was no justification whatsoever by these mindless criminal headsmen who entered into communities and killed people in their sleep, including women and children. Toddlers of 3-4 months were killed and hacked to death for no offense of theirs. This is very sad. It's very funny when people tend to blame security agencies as a very slight provocation instead of encouraging them to do more. We are on ground. We go to the field. We are actually in the community on a daily basis. We are following the security agencies. We are following the community. The issues lies with criminality and the community. It lies with the community. The community must come together to work with the security agencies. Until we trust our security agencies, we won't get this result. They are not magicians. They can't be everywhere. There is no security lapses as long as this crisis is concerned. I can say this without fear of contradiction. The security people were on top of that group, especially the commander of Operation Safe Haven and his team. They were up and doing, and they were on top of their game. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks, but that is the reality on ground. If you go to these terrains, it's a terrain where you cannot access within 15, 10, 20 minutes. The response time can be faster.
But the Northern Elders Forum mentioned that the security agencies received about 36 distress calls 48 hours before this attack, and that nothing was seen to have been done to avert it. Are you saying that they are wrong? Are they not part of the persons in the community?
Let me clear that they are not in the community. I don't know where they got this information from. But when people get vague distress call, I don't know what they want the security agents to do. For instance, the call can just come in. They are planning to attack Mangu. Where in Mangu? There's no specific. There's no mention to location. There's no mention to route. There's no mention to the people that are coming to attack. Somebody can just call and say they are planning to attack Bokkos.
Were you privy to those calls? Were you privy to hear these calls that were made?
I am not privy to those calls, but I'm privy to some of the information we normally get. Because when people say they pack the information, these are the kind of information we are used to getting. People don't give specific. People don't give accurate data. And the security men don't have the strength to mount every nook and crannies of the local government. They cannot be in every compound. They cannot be in every location. So if you give them specific, give them location, they will act on. They will move in. But when you just call and make a blanket call,
this attack was said to have gone on for over 24 hours and nothing was done.
A lot was done. People were arrested. There was a confrontation between security men and some of these bandits. As I speak to you, some soldiers are still lying down critically wounded in Jos University Teaching Hospital. So it's very wrong to say nothing was done. And let me also tell you, these bandits are used to these terrains. They go to areas where they know is isolated, where they know before security will come in, it will take a lot of time. These areas we're talking about, you can't even access it with vehicles. You cannot. I wish you come down to just one time and come and do a comprehensive report in this community. They are hilly, they are bumpy, and they are not easily accessible. Sometimes there are no communication network. So information not even trickle down to security men in time. So what most people are doing? They are speaking out of information.
The video that we saw making the rounds on social media had these persons communicating with one another. You could hear them using a walkie-talkie or something, a device, to communicate with one another. So when you say that there is no communication device, I'm wondering how they were able to beat that.
There is no GSM. There's no GSM. Walkie-talkie is different from having a GSM. The security men may have a walkie-talkie, and that may be during some of the operation, in the operation. But the community have walkie-talkie. Did they have the walkie-talkie to pass?
Okay. Let's bring the conversation to the studio now. We have a security expert also here in the studio, Darlington Omori. You've heard what our guest in Jos is saying with regards to the various allegations towards the security personnel of not being on their toes to addressing or averting this issue, knowing that this matter has been reoccurring. And the Northern Elders Forum had said that there were distress calls made 48 hours before the attack happened.
I feel very sad, bringing me into this discourse this morning. I do not want to get into a conflict with him.
With who exactly?
With the analyst on from Jos. Okay. But some of the things he said are contradictory to what the governor himself has said. For instance, the governor of Plateau State made a statement, and one of the things he said is that these terrorists were known to have been camped in some schools for the past 4 or 5 years. And the pupils or students of those schools have been chased away.
They can't access schools, yes.
That's one. Even the primary healthcare, some primary healthcare facilities in Plateau State have been occupied by these terrorists.
Right.
It meant that the security agents and the state government knows where these people were. I take you back to what happened in the Northeast at a point in time. In the Jonathan's administration, Boko Haram took over some parts of certain local governments in Borno. That was obvious. Then came another administration. One of its priorities was to chase Boko Haram away from taking over those local government completely. If the #1 citizen of Plateau State could come up with such a statement, he didn't mince words.
That's right.
If the #1, where did he get his report from?
Right.
Apparently, he was briefed by the security agencies.
Absolutely.
As the chief security officer of Plateau State. He also made a statement, I call it an allegation, where he said that at a point in time, people, he was referring to people unnamed, were of the thought that the past administration was part of those who were keeping those people or who were interested in sponsoring those people. Allegation not substantiated. And then somebody is telling us another story altogether. Please. We're talking about how many lives that were destroyed. Now, over time, we've been having crises in Plateau State.
Especially these localities.
And then people in most times reduce them to the historical conflict between the herders and the farmers. Yeah. Today, we are saying the governor of the state said by himself that these persons have been camped there, have taken over some primary schools and some primary health care facilities, and they've been there for over 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
All right, looking at what you said, if you look at the report by human rights organization Gideon and Fumi Paramalam Peace Foundation, there's noted that between April 17th and July 10, 2023, no fewer than 346 persons were killed in 8 local government areas of Plateau State. So this goes to show that Nigeria is somewhat symptomatic of what Thomas Hobbes said, that human life is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. But then, how come these killings, those behind these killings rather, have not been arrested? Are they invisible? Although our guest on Zoom said some of them were, that some arrests were made, some soldiers were affected, but all of this, it is not the first time. So how come those that have been arrested, we are not able to see them or to see them,
How many have been prosecuted over time?
Yeah, because that's what the governor is saying.
How many have
to account?
How many have been prosecuted? Yeah. The governor also talked about, he also blamed this crisis on the breakdown on the pact signed by the indigenous communities and the Fulani leaders. Not, people are saying there were no provocations as to all of this. Proactiveness. Many had projected that this was going to happen. Plateau State has been the hub of conflict. particularly the pattern of conflict that cuts across the North Central, which is basically between the herders and the farmers, as against the conflict pattern you find in Northwest or Northeast.
Right.
And so, over time, if the #1 citizen of the state is overwhelmed, then there's a problem.
How do you mean?
There's a problem because, for instance, if you said you've tried certain things and coming on board, you were in the know that these terrorists were camped in certain areas. What were you supposed to do? If you do not have...
It does not control...
If it does not have full, total control, don't
Yes.
say it does not, if it does not have control. He's the chief security officer of the state.
There's a limit to what he can
What do you call limits? Does that limit him from what he gets as security votes from the federal government?
What should he do? What should he have done with the security votes he's getting?
Now, he's aware that these persons, terrorists, are taking over certain places and were permanently there. So it was no longer the guerrilla warfare kind of thing. If you had security reports or you had the intelligence report that these people were camped in these places, what were you supposed to do? Corroborate with the security agencies and the military and find a way of doing whatever you needed to do, either move them out of that place or police their movement. You could police their movement with through artificial intelligence or human intelligence. And then by the time you police their movement, you would know where they are moving to at every given point in time. If you want to use the non-kinetic approach to solve the matter, what do you also need to do? You police them, and then you follow with intelligence. When they are moving, you know the direction they are moving. Somebody is moving with them. The undercover agencies are supposed to be a part of it.
Right. Mr. Moro,
we need to quickly go for a commercial break, right? When we return, we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before we went to the break, we were speaking with our guests on the issues, the killings that happened in Plateau State. And the president has called that the persons, the perpetrators, must be brought to book as quickly as possible. In the studio, we have Darlington Umoru, who is a security consultant, and via Zoom from Jos is security expert, conflict mediator, and peace advocate Melvin Eje, who have been speaking with us before we went on the break. Ibrahim, you wanted to ask a question?
Mr. Eje, let me bring you this question. You know, based on what you said earlier on, that when people made distress calls to the soldiers, they didn't give, you know, definite information. And then we had the governor of the state, Muftuang, saying that some of these localities, when the people or the original people there were sacked, then it is being inhabited by the attackers. Are you saying that the Nigerian army or those who are supposed to fight against these attackers are not aware of what the governor has said, you know, the claim the governor had made about these people occupying these communities?
Well, I am not aware if the governor said so. I have not heard the statement from him, but if the governor said so, it's rather very unfortunate as the chief secretary of the state. I think that would be a failure on his part to know that terrorists were camped at a school for several months. He took over and did not do anything. That would be a failure on his part as the chief secretary of the state. But the Governor Mufanda, I know, is a very coordinated governor. He's someone who is very organized. I do not agree that he meant what is being carried out. Let me make reference to a statement that he made yesterday, that he made some days ago. He rebuked it yesterday at Bokkos, where he made reference to the former federal government and not this federal government. So I'm sure this is one of them. I am not aware that terrorists have been camped in any school on the plateau. Like I said, I am on ground. I'm not speaking from any part of the country. I'm speaking from Plateau. I'm speaking from the terrain. I am also speaking from the field here on the plateau. I am not aware. And if anything of such need to happen, what did the state government do? Who did they inform about the location of these terrorists? Where are the correspondences they wrote to the security agencies and they did not act? What time did they share this intelligence and they did not act? These are the questions we should be asking, because I do not agree that terrorists were camped and they told the Operation Safe Haven or the Nigerian police force or the DSF and they did not act. That is not possible. The kind of commander we have, the GOC we have on the plateau here, He moves at night. He leads operation himself. So if you give him such information, consider it done. We have very serious-minded security chiefs on the plateau, and we are confident with that.
It looks like you are privy to some, sorry to pause, it looks like you're privy to some information that we are actually, seeking to know. Could you confirm to us how much of these attackers were being able to be arrested by the Nigerian army or the Nigerian police? If you know, if you have the numbers.
Let me give you a background. If the last Mangu crisis that happened over a month, 2 months ago, Google your phone right where you are seated. Google Operation Save Ever made arrests. More than 30, 40 arrests were made from the different groups with arms and ammunition. More than 20 terrorists were neutralized. They were paraded. They were paraded on national television. They were paraded on social media. They were paraded on news. So I wonder why Nigerians always say they don't make arrests. Are not made. Arrests are being made by Major General Abia Bakar. His team are making arrests on a daily basis, including this attack. Arrests have been made. But I'm not, because of security information, I'm not going to disclose the numbers now because some people are still on the trail of some people. But so far so good, arrests have been made.
It's interesting because the same governor said that why this matter has festered is because there's no accountability, so to speak. We're not seeing the level of accountability, the political will to bring these persons to book. He said that. That was his statement. So if you are saying all of this, are you saying the government, the governor is working in isolation and the military is also working in isolation at cross purposes and nobody is sharing information? That would be interesting to know.
I am not the governor, but let me clearly state what he meant by his statement, because he repeated that at the IDP camp yesterday. The governor was making reference to the former federal government and former state government. The governor made it very clear that the former government did not act. They didn't bring people to book, and that's why we have reoccurrence. But since he came in, and this commander came in, and this new set of service chiefs came in, there have been accountability. People have been arrested. People have been charged to court. Recently, the paraded people who have arms, who were caught with several arms, several sophisticated arms from this locality. So I don't understand why they say there's no accountability. It's not the responsibility of the STF to try people. It is the State Minister of Justice and the Nigerian police. So if they arrested suspect and hand over to the appropriate agency and not prosecute them,
so tell us now, where are we with the persons that have been arrested? Have they been taken to court? Have they been tried? What is the situation?
For the previous Mangu crisis, those persons have been taken to court. They have been handed over to the appropriate authority, and some of them are actually facing trial as I speak now. On this crisis, the people that have been arrested are still in custody and the investigation is still going on. I can confirm that to you.
Right. Well, Mr. Moro, let me bring it back to you. It's very annoying, that each time these killings occur, we always come together. We are always united on one thing, condemning the attack. Even the governors, you see those who are supposed to act condemning the attack, and then we wait again for another cycle of, attack to happen again. But we see so many security checkpoints in South-South, Southeast. I'm not sure how much this has been in Plateau and some of these places that have been attacked. What do you think we are not doing correctly? What have we not done differently to move out of this cliche of, condemnation?
We've not been able to get our intel right. Because if you got your intel right, then every other thing will be gotten right. Then you'll be able to checkmate the activities of these terrorists. That's why I said initially that if the governor said by himself that for the past 4 or 5 years, that terrorists have been camped in some schools and some primary healthcare facilities, it meant that certain things should have been done. Both the artificial and human intelligence should have been adopted. I did something recently, not recently, about a week or 2 ago. I had to move to Kaduna to go see for myself to feel the pulse of the people. And I took a risk. What was that risk? I had to travel by road from Abuja to Kaduna and back to Kaduna to see what it's like. That corridor is that den where the bandits operate, oftentimes, taking people. I needed to feel what that road was like, and then what the traffic was like, and then whether the people were actually ready to travel on that road against all odds, And I got to Kaduna and I spoke with some persons. ask them certain questions, you know, to see if there's this palpable fear, like the kind of thing we are feeling from this part of the country. Like, oh, Kaduna now, there's this heat, everybody is undercover, hiding movement, economic activities, grounded, and all of that. Sorry, just deviating a bit from your question. And then I had some experiences. The Kaduna-Abuja corridor is a very busy one. When I say busy, it's a very busy one. And then sometimes you want to wonder, you look at that corridor as horrible security-wise as it's supposed to be. You want to count the number of security facilities on that corridor, monitoring movement of persons. What do you get at the end of the day? We're not even talking about physical manning of the road by personnel, security personnel, and all of that. What is it like? In this part of the world, elsewhere, let me take it elsewhere. Insecurity is no longer fought with the use of human intelligence and control. More of it is done with the technology. Okay, that's why I said what we are not doing right is we're not getting intel right. The Kaduna issue we had the other day, the accident, I called it accident, I was there to talk about, was a basic intel. Intel that was not gotten right. The artificial intel was adopted. It provided images, but the human intelligence was not there to corroborate with the artificial intelligence or whether somebody was in a hurry or something. Okay? The artificial intelligence will give you images that somebody is supposed to process. What is intel? What is intel? Intel is information plus process. It gives you intel. And so, but when like what we have in Plateau State now, you see that it's intel that has failed. The governor is privy, the chief security officer of the state is privy to certain information that needed to be processed. Okay? He is aware, apparently before he became governor or after he became governor, reports were presented to him that in this area, this is what is going on. If he does not have absolute control over the military or the security agencies, there is a channel. Mr. President, when he came on board, created a platform which he called the clearinghouse. What are you supposed to do with the clearinghouse? Mr. President, like I said, I'm talking about His Excellency Bola Tinubu. I said he didn't come from America or from one other place to become president of Nigeria. He was a part of Nigeria before he became president. And so he knew about what he needed to do. And so he was taking his notes before he became president. So this governor apparently was taking his notes before he went into election and got the thing. And then you make this kind of statements. What do you want to achieve? Analyze his statements. It meant that you already knew that this person's account, and why are they there? They will take off from that point to unleash terror at different other parts. Particularly, we have local governments that oftentimes have been, struck. And so what was he supposed to do if he does not have the primary power to control the military and the other security agencies? He goes to the clearinghouse or takes his matter to the executive council meeting and then present the problem he has there. Mr. President has often given these volatile areas governors attention. Right. Talk to me about what is happening in your domain, and then let's see what we can do. How they could be nipped in the bud. But if you say some of these things are beyond you, and when you have the powers to do certain things, and you have the ears of Mr. President, who has powers over the military and some of these other persons, who could talk with the chiefs, the chief of army staff, the chief of defense staff, even the minister of defense. And then you could all come together and then agree on something. And then if you do not want to strike them, adopt the non-kinetic approach. Go to them. But he is telling us now that what happened is a breakdown of the peace pact signed by the Fulani leaders and the indigenous communities.
Let me get back to Melvin now on this point you just raised. Melvin, this matter of a peace pact breaking down, and then we're seeing this reoccurring crisis in that in those areas. I wonder how we can address this matter such that we deal with this matter from the root. We are seeing the Arewa Consultative Forum saying that perhaps there should be a declaration of a state of emergency. And the governor also was talking about the matter of if people want to take over certain lands, there are right channels for which they can, make requests, and then lands will be allocated to them. I wonder if that is the issue, but if we are to address this matter from the root and not just addressing the symptoms, is a declaration of a state of emergency the way to go? And is this about land acquisition, or what really is at the heart of it?
Well, I'm glad my brother at the studio have cleared the air concerning the issues I raised against the statement of the governor. I'm happy he addressed it squarely, because it's rather very unfortunate. I just believe he was quoted out of context. For me, there is no peace path that was broken recently, because I have been following, like I said, I'm a peace practitioner, and I've followed up in all the processes. Every non-kinetic meetings that have been going on concerning this crisis I've been following is a pure act of criminality. This is a clear act of criminality. People who just want to annihilate the people of Plateau State. Yes, land grabbing, bandits everywhere, terrorists everywhere. When they kill people, they want to acquire their land. It's actually a process of their expansion to have more terrain to themselves. That I can agree with the governor. But currently, there are no issues on ground. There was all the issues we had on ground concerning cattle rustling, concerning farmers' destruction of farmland. They were resolved. Compensation were paid by the parties, and everybody agreed that there should be peace. Even when the Ardo of Panyan was killed, the operation, like I said, I don't know, people should Google their phones. The commander of the operation said they will let this man. They went as far as Lagos to track the killer of the Ardo, brought him to Jos, asked him questions. He made confessional statement why he killed the Ardo. As I speak to you, he's facing justice. Everybody all the incidents that happened during the last crisis, they were resolved. The perpetrators were arrested. They are being prosecuted today. So we didn't have any issue on ground to around this senseless attack, this barbaric attack currently. It's a clear action of criminality. And I think we must rise up again together as a community to solve this problem. The best way to resolve this crisis, we must begin to trust our security agencies and share information with them. By the time we continue to look at them as our enemy, of course they are not. One of the issues we have is politicians, my dear. Let me be very honest with you. Is politicians want to play to the gallery. They want to impress their people. So the safer corridor for them is to wake up and blame security agencies. When, as a matter of fact, they are the one that ignites about this conflict. We should all drop. I love the governor yesterday, where he called the former governor, called Joshua Dari, and called every stakeholder across party line. They sat together. That's the sure way to resolve this crisis. We must begin to tell ourselves the truth, and the truth alone.
So you're invariably saying that there are those who are sponsoring this crisis.
Very well, very well. The Arsenal cannot operate alone. They can't operate in isolation. Some of the weapons they use, they can't even buy them. So there are sponsors of this conflict. There are crisis merchants who are out making money from this crisis on a daily basis. I think the security agents are of the trail of them. They are going to identify very soon and brought to book.
Well, Mr. Omoru, we cannot do the same thing and expect these different results. Clearly it's essential that, we have entirely different approach to resolving this crisis, once and for all, because we can't keep watching the home of peace and tourism into a killing field. What exactly would you advise that is done? Because I know that we talked about, when we were talking about late Akeredolu, we said how he championed Amotekun and all of that. Should this not bring to the fore community policing to ensure that states are able to handle security affairs squarely?
Forgive me, I'm not in support of community policing at this point in time of our democracy.
Why?
Simple. Community policing at the end of the day may not achieve the exact or primary result for putting community policing in place. Now, when you have community policing that the state apparatus will be in charge of, you can be very sure, like he said something about the politicians now.
Using it to their own advantage?
Yes.
They use it to their, which one is better? Using them politically for election season and securing the life of people.
Would they allow them to do their jobs at the end of the day, politicians have enemies everywhere. They are enemies to themselves and they are enemies to the others. You see somebody come take over power, somebody is voted into power. By all means, the winner takes it all in Nigeria. And then everybody wants to do everything to win the election by all means. And one of the reasons we have this proliferation of small arms and light weapons so much in our society, part of it is the contribution of what the politicians have also added to the societies.
Right.
I mean, some persons talks. You've seen talks arrested, and they will tell you that the third security agency, they make confessional statements that they were armed by politicians. We are not done with those ones here. This is even illegal. The non-state actors bearing arms illegally, and then you are talking about when you now legalize it.
Our time is up.
Our time is not up. Time for the program is up. No, but the truth is, finally. I think the governor should work with the president. Otherwise, a state of emergency should be declared.
Which Arewa Consultative Forum is calling for, that a state of emergency should be declared. But gentlemen, we must thank you for your contribution on the program so far. We must thank you, conflict mediator and peace advocate, as well as security expert Melvin Eje, for your time, and security consultant Bola Tinubu. Must thank you as well for your time on the program. Thank you.
Pleasure.